I wanted to ask you, because you've been in there with Calzaghe and you've been in there with Roy Jones Jr. And when they fought, they won at the peak. But how do you think that would have gone if they had have met when they should have met? Because I love both fighters.
Yeah, well, Roy Jones, my man.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Obviously, Joe Calzaghe was one of those fighters who could handle any style in front of him. That's why he was so good. If you came at Joe Calzaghe, look at Jeff Lacey.
Yes. Welcome to the 13th and final round podcast.
And today we have a special guest here.
Yes, we do. We have a very special guest.
Yep.
A man that I respect highly. We have Richie Woodhall in the house. Let's go. So, what you probably don't know is that I sat ringside at your last fight in Sheffield, the full Monty, because at the time I was living with Isham Pickering, who was on the undercard. It was unbelievable card, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was indeed. I come second in that one, so yeah, it was. It's amazing because over the years now I've worked in Sheffield with the GB squad for all these years, probably 15 years now, and this was was the city of my last fight against Joe Calzaghe, which is literally 200 or 300 yards just across the way there.
It's that direction, isn't it?
Over there, Sheffield Arena. So you take the rough with the smooth. So good and bad days.
No, but I went to your fight in when you fought in Telford. I went to the fight in Telford against Marcus Bayer as well.
So you've been to 2 of my fights, and I've lost the both of them.
I went to the last 4 of your fights. Come
on, also the 2.
I went to his last 4 fights. But do you know what I wanted to ask you? Because you've been in there with Calzaghe and you've been in there with Roy Jones Jr. And when they fought, they won at the peak. But how do you think that would have gone if they had have met when they should have met? Because I love both fighters.
Yeah, well, Roy Jones, my man. Still.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Obviously, Joe Calzaghe was one of those fighters who could handle any style in front of him. That's why he was so good. If you came at Joe Calzaghe, look at Jeff Lacey, the way he came at him, and Joe sorted him out. But if you moved away from him, he was also good at that sort of style in front of him. So, yeah, he could handle any style. But as regards to Roy Jones, he was a superman, I think, especially at super middle. Super middle and light heavy. You know what? I think in the history of boxing, there's probably not many that would have lived with him, really. Super middle. The way he beat, if you look at the way he beat Bernard Hopkins and James Toney is one of my favourite fighters ever. His defensive skills and that were just fantastic. And the way he beat him, I mean, you come out of both of those fights as if he'd been in a spar. It's an incredible performance from both of them, in those 2 fights. So I can't answer the question really because it's one of them. But they were 2 terrific fighters. But Roy Jones, I think, was a very special man indeed.
What was the experience for you, like in the ring, just going in with Roy, the build up and everything?
Well, I was in the Olympics.
You met him in the amateurs, didn't you? So you know about Roy well before you?
No, not really. No,
you just met him in the championships.
He was sort of an unknown, an American boxer who literally could just coming through. I was 20 at the games in '88. He was 19. So, and he was one of the unfancied American fighters at that time. So. We didn't know a lot about him. I remember it was in the semi-final. My coach, Kevin Hickey at the time, said, you know, this American is really quick. He's good. Typical American, he's very relaxed and very, very quick. He says, you got your work cut out here. This is what we got to do. He says, you can't go over your front foot too much. And that was the great thing about Roy Jones, I think, even when boxing him as an amateur. Yeah. If you went over your front foot a little bit too much, if you overreach, then man, he'd catch you so quickly. But those are the traps that he's setting, so his hands are fairly low. And I had a little bit of height on him, but his hands are fairly low and he's leaning forward, and you think he's there to be hit, and then as you go to hit it, bang! You know, so I knew as the fight was going on, I knew he was slipping away, but at the same time, I knew that if I went forward more and more, I'd fall into that trap. So I tried to then replicate what he was sort of doing, in and out with the feet, and I had a bit of success here and there. It wasn't a foregone conclusion.
No, it was a good fight.
You know, it wasn't a bad fight, but I just fell short. He just had a little bit too much speed for me. He was brilliant.
I always felt that his reach were a lot longer than what people thought as well.
He had a deceptively long reach. Wow. You're right. And he got very long sort of forearms. I remember his forearms were very long indeed. And he'd throw shots from different angles. He'd whip the left hook in as you're coming forward. And obviously the hooks are the shots that you don't see. They come round the sides. So he was a special fighter. He was very good. And also, what I found out about him, boxing him, and obviously watching him throughout his career, he's one of those fighters that, and I think it's a sort of a natural trait that a lot of exceptional fighters has. He didn't get hit very much. He had that natural ability to avoid punches. And that's something that's probably it's in him, if you know what I mean. It's sort of, you can't train that. He had that natural ability to avoid a punch, avoid a shot.
Like you have a fast twitch in a muscle.
Absolutely. He was just there, then he's not there, and you're there, and you're trying to hit him, then he's not there. He was just sensational, man.
The one thing I loved about Roy, which was deceptive, is how he could exchange his weight from his front foot to his back foot. So he's leaning on his front foot, making you think he's there, but as soon as he moved that weight into his back leg, he's out of range, and he was very good at going in and out.
Very good at going in and out. And like I say, the traps that he set with the low hands as you're going forward, you're trying to catch him. And then you see you get hit with shots, and then you're getting more frustrated. But then it's like then you're in quicksand. Then it's getting deeper and deeper, and you're sinking more and more, and you're more falling into his trap. So I had to, because I used to hate getting hit. We all hate getting hit. It makes you angry, and then you lose your composure. But then you just got to sit back and just try and calm down and just try and go about it a different way, which I did, but it just wasn't quite good enough. There you go.
But you had a great career after that, though.
Yeah, it was okay.
What was it like in person when you met him?
You know what? I didn't. Obviously, I spoke to him briefly after the final when he got beat against Park Si-hun, and we all know it's probably the worst decision in boxing history, I think, amateur and pro. You won't see a more one-sided contest than that goes the other way. So I spoke to him very briefly in the medal ceremony, my was just, I mean, he was numb. The guy was numb, man. You know what I mean? So I remember literally putting my arms down and saying, "Mate," I says, "You know, we can all see that you've won the fight." He just thanked me, and I didn't see him then. Incredible story, really. Till about 20 years later.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that was 1988. I think it was 2008, then when he fought, I think he might have fought Joe around about that time. And I remember seeing him in a press conference. I think Joe was fighting Hopkins, Bernard Hopkins in
the sequel.
He was fighting Hopkins in Vegas, and Roy was doing the rounds in a press conference, going around speaking to people, because obviously the winner of that, he was going to fight Roy Jones, I think it was, and that was all going to be set up. I remember like walking, I hadn't seen him for 20 years, and I walked up to him and I went, "Roy," I went, "Woodhall," I said, Great Britain. I says, I boxed you in the Olympics. Well, his face, he just flipping lit up, and he went, man, how you doing? And shook my hand, and he turned to some guy, and he went, this guy, he went, was so difficult. That's what he said. So that for me was sound. He gave me a lot of respect, man.
And
so
you know what it is when you box somebody and you haven't seen them for a long time. It's like you share the ring together. You got that bond.
Exactly. So when I said that, the Woodhall, Great Britain, I went, I boxed in the Olympics.
Bond. It's like your family.
Yeah.
You haven't seen him.
And so all these people with him, and he just turned around and said, this guy, and I spoke to him for a good 5 or 10 minutes in that
It's intimacy, isn't it? It's the intimacy.
Yeah, because you've shared the ring with him, man. So you got that respect. So it was a nice moment, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I went, I was working for BBC 5 Live at the time, radio, and I went, you don't mind doing an interview for us, do you? He went, no. He said, for you, anything, man. So he came over, and we had a great interview with him for 5 Live, so it was good. Nice moment.
I'm going to ask you something, might be cheeky, but if you met Roy Jones in a pro, obviously, what would it be like?
Wouldn't have lived with him, mate.
Yeah?
Wouldn't have lived with him. No chance. Oh, you know.
But obviously your style's changed.
You start, Well, probably I learned a little bit more. I'd have probably lasted a little bit longer, you know, because obviously I went the 3 rounds with him, but I wouldn't have had the speed, you know what I mean? But the one thing I did have is I had the knowledge of you can't go to Roy Jones, you can't try and... The more you go to him, the more you... A bit like Calzaghe, the more you go into Calzaghe, mate, the more you just... You know, those type of fighters, they prefer you to come to them, so it would have been... If I'd have fought Roy Jones as an amateur, it'd have been as a professional, it would have been a cagey affair, and probably would have been quite boring until he actually got to me. But I wouldn't have had the speed. I think his boxing, you know, from the amateur to professional, he took it to another level there. His speed, the way the way he obviously worked out, his physique, his speed, his power, his boxing IQ. He was just, I mean, listen, he was the only guy in 106 years to win a middleweight title and a heavyweight title. It just doesn't happen. So, how would I got on with him? I'd have probably, like I said, made it awkward for him, you know, because I was quite a good boxer in terms of staying out of the way. But I wouldn't have been fast enough or strong enough to beat him.
For me, the last great fight he had was against Clinton Woods. I was training with Clinton Woods when he had that fight as well. And then after that, he went up, didn't he, to John Ruiz, right?
Yeah, Ruiz.
Yeah, and
Ruiz, you know, it wasn't a bad fight, you know. He was a good fighter, Ruiz.
If he retires after Ruiz, for me, I haven't...
Oh, mate, that's when he should have retired.
He's the greatest, isn't he? Like, and I love Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali's my man. Sugar Robinson's my man. You can't argue with that, but that legacy just went like that. And after the second Tarver fight when he got knocked out, I never watched another one. Couldn't do it.
I saw that fight.
Yeah, you know. I mean, Antonio Tal was a great fighter. But against Roy Jones in his peak, no, man. Roy Jones was... he was a different class, wasn't he?
You can't put all that muscle on and come
like you say, after John Ruiz, I think if he'd have called it a day then, mate, he sits at the top of the tree on anyone's list.
It's very hard to say he's not the best, right? Because people didn't even talk about Floyd when Roy was fighting at his peak, did they? Floyd come around after, didn't he? They didn't even mention his name, you know what I mean?
Compare the legacy of Floyd Mayweather and Roy Jones. Who would you... The people who he's fought and... you know what I mean?
Well, listen, as regards to the people he's fought, Roy Jones, for me...
He's fought the people.
He's fought the very best. But Floyd Mayweather, man, I mean, I'm a big Mayweather fan. I love Mayweather, I do. Again, I watched him train out in Vegas. I was out at some fight and he invited the press. I was part of the press and we watched him train. I watched that guy train. I think he trained for an hour and 10 minutes and he didn't take a break. He went from the pads to the bag to this to circuits to that. He didn't take a break, just a bit of water. It was we timed it. It was an hour and 10 minutes, and he never took a break.
He's an athlete, isn't he? He's an athlete.
That was something else, and that wasn't show. I mean, you'd have to be some athlete to do that. Hour and 10 minutes, and he didn't take a break. He went straight from one piece of equipment to the next, to that. Hour and 10 minutes later, he was still training.
So on the pads, how many rounds would you do on the pads? Because on what we see is a little short bit of pads. And
did you do different type of pad works behind closed doors?
Well, no, he did what
The fancy stuff, yeah.
he did because there was loads of press there.
Yes.
So I don't think he even showed us what he actually really did.
Yeah.
But he must have done 7 or 8 rounds.
Yeah.
They didn't go on a timeout. He just stopped and had a drink of water when he wanted to stop. I think some of these rounds might have been like 5 or 6 minutes long. It was incredible the way he trained. Keep going and it was unbelievable what he did. And I made a note of time in the actual sessions that he did.
Yeah.
And he didn't really take a break from anything for an hour and 10 minutes. And I thought, man, I remember speaking to either Bunsey or one of the journos I was out there with. I went, hey, look at this.
Yeah.
That is something else. To train for that long, I know, because I was a fit guy.
Yeah.
So to train that and don't take a break, just the odd sip of water, I thought.
So he was a real deal then.
Mate, that Mayweather, he was something special.
Yeah.
Again, special type of fighter. And again, one of those fighters, mate, didn't get hit.
Talented.
Yeah.
Didn't get hit.
Yeah.
Muscle twitch.
Come on. You can count on your finger. You can count on your one hand the amount of times he gets kicked clean in a fight, in a 12-round fight against real decent fighters. Beat Canelo and everyone.
While we're talking about fights on the gate, I trained with Naseem Hamid in the 90s. What did you think of Naz?
Now compare that as well.
Yeah, well, Naz, you know what? Naz, I keep saying this word special, and he was special. I love Naz. And the one thing I would say about Naz, what made him so special, yes, very, very skillful, he could knock you out with either hand. He could knock you out with a jab. He was so powerful. With his straight shots, his hooks, his uppercuts used to come from here somewhere and ended up there somewhere, and you on the end of it.
His
legs. He was a very powerful. I remember speaking to a good fighter, a lad called Mark McCreath.
Yeah, I know Mark.
Do you remember Mark McCreath?
Yes,
Mark McCreath was a good fighter. Beat me as an amateur, Mark did. And he was a good fighter, Mark McCreath was. And I remember him saying to me, he went, Richie, he says, I remember him first saying to me, he says, there's a kid in the gym. He says, man, he says, you won't believe the power of this guy. And no one knew heard of him then. And he says, his name's Prince Naseem Ahmed. And I had heard of him because I think he just started out as a pro. I went, yeah, I've heard of him. He says, Richie, he went, you wouldn't believe. And he was a welterweight then, Mark McCreath was. Like welter come welter. He says, he's only a super bantam. He says, he broke my ribs, is what he said to me in sparring. I says, what? He says, Richie, he's broke my ribs in sparring. He hits that hard. He says, he spars anyone in the gym. He says, mate, you would not believe the power of this kid. And that's the first time I really got to hear of the power of him. And then obviously, when you see him fight, He's for me, he was very, very skillful. Orthodox or southpaw, again, talented. But the power, that's a gift from above, that is.
It is.
In either hand.
It was a big for us training around Naz in the 90s to our ended. It was very disappointing because we saw him in the gym and he was 10 times better in the gym. And because of the people who he'd spar with, I respect them. I'm not going to mention my name on camera, but he bashed the shit out of some middleweights. some known fighters, known names. He bashed the shit out of them.
Even the heavyweights.
I mean, I heard rumours that he went in with Johnny. Johnny used to spar Johnny Nelson.
I've seen it in my own eyes.
I heard he used to spar Johnny Nelson.
Two fighters used to spar with very, very regular with was John Faxton.
Yes.
And James Eyre. They were stone and half plus on it.
James Eyre.
And they were good fighters, mate.
You wouldn't think that they were heavier than him.
They were good fighters,
the way he sparred with him.
So like I say, very a rare talent, and it doesn't come by very often, does it? That type of boxer does not come round.
It's a gift.
It's a gift, mate. Naseem, Calzaghe, Roy Jones, these are gifted boxers that don't come round very often.
I just wish Naz would have had the dedication of a Calzaghe over Mayweather. And what he would have been, who knows?
I think it was hand trouble as well. They had a lot of hand trouble.
He did have hand trouble.
Too hard.
But he had a lot of inconsistency. I was in the gym, he'd be in and he'd be disappear.
I missed him, mate. He'd
disappear for months. He disappeared for 3 months between fights. You can't do that, do you know what I mean? Like he beat Bodilio at the Sheffield Arena. Was that was a different?
I can't remember.
He beat Bodilio over here, and then Kevin Kelly jumps ringside, and they have that little argument. The fight's in 6 weeks. Nas goes on a 2 weeks holiday, comes in the gym. I won't say what weight it was. He had 4 weeks to take all the weight off.
And he got it off.
And then you got through that fight, didn't you? Up and down fight. And you think the natural attitude would be, I'm going to have to learn from that. His attitude was like, well, I've got a chin as well, don't I?
And of course, I mean, I remember speaking to Nas, speaking to the Bomber Graham, Harold Bomber Graham. He says, Richie, he used to come and knock my door. He says, a little kid, he said, Harold, you coming to the gym? Yeah, I'm coming. You know, he says he was a right little nuisance. But, you know, Nas obviously looked up to Harold Graham because the Bomber was unbelievable, mate. What a gifted fighter. I remember sparring Harold for a couple of fights that I had against Southpaws. Mate, right? he taught me so much.
Wow.
Harold Bomber Graham. You know what? I used to do 10 rounds a day with Harold, and this was towards the end of his career, and I could not get a glove on him for the first 5 rounds. It was only after that when he started to tire, and this was a guy in his late 30s, and I remember thinking, what was he like in his mid-20s? Man, you know what I mean? What was he like in the mid-20s? And the reason why I'm saying about Harold, because of obviously Brendan Ingle, Nas, Brendan Ingle. What a gym, and what a setup they had. And Brendan Ingle, mate, what a trainer he was. He was something else.
When I went down there at 15, I couldn't even appreciate. Now when I think back on it, you'd be in sparring, you got James there in the ring like this. You turn around, it's Faxton. Turn around, it's Pellerin. Turn around, it's Ryan Rhodes.
Mate, unbelievable.
Nas, Clifton Mitchell.
You had it worse.
Neville Brown.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And then Junior came.
I was living with Junior at the time. Junior,
he was a good fighter. What a setup, and you know, and Brendan Ingle sort of had that. He had that gift as a trainer as well, didn't he? He was a very good trainer. The way he got it across, and the skills that all these boxers seem to have in abundance. What a talented sort of setup it was, a group of boxers, and what a talented trainer, Brendan Ingle, God rest his soul. He was someone I really admired.
As he used to say in the gym, I'm here to brainwash you in a good way. That's what he would say all the time, a good way. It was like, it was so funny, you'd be like on a back and he said, stop. 5 senses, and then everyone in the gym saying just they smell 6.
It's like a
anticipating what the other person's thinking they're going to do. I can't hear you say it again, and he'd just be doing it non-stop. Stop, John. Go there in the middle of sparring. Sing as a rainbow. I can sing a rainbow. He didn't have me singing. At one time, he got me dressed up in a suit. 5 was dressed up in a suit. We're going somewhere special. You're going to like it. You trust me, don't you? Get a suit on. We're going down to Meadowhall. Go down to Meadowhall. He set up a karaoke for all the people in the gym to sing I Can Sing a Rainbow to everyone in Meadowhall. And he's had me rolling around in my suit singing
and that's just to express yourself.
I think that's to get you confidence.
What he's trying to do is he's trying to, like, you could do it in a gym, and then when you get in front of the lights, is that nerves, isn't it? He's trying to just make you're not embarrassed about anything. So you can just feel free to do whatever. You've been in worse situations than this. You remember when you sung at Meadowhall? You remember when I had you in your suit singing at Meadowhall? This is a joke, mate. This is a joke. So he knew.
I tell you what, mate. Very clever that is. Yeah, very clever. And I can see what I was doing.
I don't know how he fits into society now, though, because I wouldn't say this on camera. Off camera, he'd do things and say things that would be in society be very hard now because of being politically correct. But it really worked well. It really worked well.
He knew what worked for you and what worked for boxers. I mean, which is the talent of the coach has got to have. To get the best out of the boxer. That is something that a coach has got to have and find, and he knew how to do it.
You
united everybody together. You did.
Your singer's from the same home. Your singer's from the same.
No matter what
for me, he's like the Alex Ferguson of boxing. How he put it together.
And Sheffield and the Ingle camp had that reputation there. If you was boxing an Ingle fight, mate, you was in trouble. You're going to have a bad. You're going to have one hell of a night. So
the first experience I had with Brendan, there's this kid in the gym called Killer Amar Khan. Do you know Amar Khan?
No.
He's in the corner with Billy Joe Saunders when Billy Joe Saunders fought Canelo. He's a big, tall Asian kid. He's with Tyson Fury.
Yeah, I've seen him.
You know him, right? So he was Hamzat Shiraz's corner in the last fight, right? So his nickname's Killer for a reason. So if you join the gym, it's a trial bout with him. And he would literally get told, smash him up. Right? Literally, everyone's had that trial. You've had that trial.
I trained in Manchester with Pat Barrett.
Yeah.
And then, so I came across to the Ingles.
Yeah.
So I'm coming with that attitude.
Yeah.
I'll smash anything. Oh, they don't spar properly. Body sparring, that's no good. I got in there with him. And it was, we had to go for war, mate. I passed the test.
Yeah, good lad.
So what happened is I was on the English kickboxing team with Pele Reid, and Pele went and joined there.
Yeah.
So then I went because Pele went. And then I went in and Brendan just said to me, "He's tough, aren't you? I've seen your fights. You're tough, killer." And then he got in there. He says, "Everyone out." And he just let us get on with it 6 rounds.
Really?
Just literally smashed the shit out.
How did he get on? How did he get on?
I did all right. And he said, "So you know you're tough. So this is what I want from you now." He showed me the lines. He says, "You don't talk to me until I talk to you." 6 months he didn't say a word to me. I'm just up and down the lines. 3 hours every morning, 3 hours a night, 6 hours a day on footwork.
Yeah.
And then one morning he says to me, "John, put your gloves on." And John Faxton was behind me, so I thought he was talking to John Faxton. He goes, "Are you deaf?" I said, "Who put your gloves on like that?" And this is like 6:30 in the morning, and then I had to have a trial bout with John Faxton, who was fighting Ricky Hatton.
Yeah. Wow.
Me and John Faxton in the morning.
Wow, man.
But what he taught me, he says, "All I want you to do is do what you last 6 months. I don't want you to chuck a punch if you're not comfortable."
No, that's
Couldn't hit me.
Wow, good catch, yeah.
Because I'd just been taught to move, and he says, "Now that's a lesson for everyone who's forgetting the footwork." Because some of them, like Nas, in the end, he forgot his footwork. You know, just taking it back to that basis. First thing I want you to do, win, lose or draw. You're not getting hurt. It's not. I'm not having it on my conscience. You need to be able to move.
Brilliant, yeah, that's it.
Tell him your name, your boxing name.
Well, the Shadow, but
the Shadow. I catch you, man.
What was your name?
Listen, when I first was pro and I signed up, I was the untouchable.
Why did he change it?
I got knocked out. So I changed it to the Dark Gladiator. Now. Just go to war.
So as I say, he changed it from untouchable because you got touched.
Yeah, I got touched, man.
That was good. Who was it? OJ Abrams?
Yeah, OJ Abrams on my second fight.
OJ Abrams,
yeah. Well, I was
the set him up, though.
Set up.
OJ had 60 fights at the time.
Yeah, he was a good pro, wasn't he, OJ Abrams?
If he fancied
me, myself and I.
It was the Santa Claus time when he won the Santa Claus too. That was that time. I was on the undercard of Anthony Farnell.
Yeah. Who was Farnell fighting?
I can't remember. We were good fighters.
Were in Elcott?
No.
I think OJ Abrams, if I'm right, he was a single parent, wasn't he? And he brought his kid up himself, and that's why he used to fight anyone, anytime, mate. He was there. He was a good.
He was
pro.
A prospect at the start, and he had to go.
He was a good pro. He was, mate. Fair play, OJ.
But listen, I want to rewind it back because we want our audience to know a little bit about about you that they don't know.
I want to know about you as well.
So, how did he get into boxing?
Like many of us, I'm from Telford. Brought up on a council estate. Nothing to do back in the 70s on the council estate. Telford was a new town then. It's an overspill for Birmingham and the Black Country area. And my dad was a brickie. Came over to Telford and helped build the new town. We settled on an estate. Nothing there on the estate to do. My one brother got starting to get bullied at school. He came home, and so my dad went, right, okay, let's find a boxing club and get you to a boxing club. So it was through my brother. So there was a boxing club on our estate where we lived. My brother went, and my eldest brother, and then my other brother went, and little brothers follow big brothers, don't they? So, but my dad had boxed as an amateur in Birmingham because he's a West Bromwich bloke. My dad,
West Bromwich,
yeah, West Bromwich, yeah. So my dad was born in West Bromwich. He fought in Birmingham because he was raised in Birmingham. Actually, he boxed as an amateur, so he became then a coach at this club that we were on this estate, an estate called Woodside in Telford, and the rest is history, as they say. My dad became a coach, and I just started. I was 7 years of age and never looked back. So, my two brothers got to like 16, 17. They both had about 40 or 50 fights, but they decided to pack it up, and I just never did. I just carried on.
When did you know you got the bug? How did you know you got the bug?
I got the bug straight away. I did. When I was 7 years of age, I loved the smell of the gloves. I loved the gym. I just loved to train. Man, I just loved my boxing back then. I just, with my mates, training and that, and like I say, we trained 3 nights a week then, and I don't think I missed a night, me.
So when did you start training with Dad at the pilot gym? That gym where you went to call the steps, that big tower?
Oh yeah, so that was when I turned pro then. I was sponsored by my local sort of power station. There's a power station in Ironbridge in Telford, and they sponsored me by doing a gym for me down at the actual power station. So, so it was incredible. So yeah, it was a good little gym actually. But obviously Telford wasn't really a boxing place then, so I had to get my sparring partners in and things like that and put them up because it's obviously your sparring is probably as important as any part of your training. I always think running and sparring are probably the main part of your training that you got to get right. So I used to bring my sparring partners in. They'd come down to Ironbridge, which is a lovely, beautiful little town in South Telford on the River Severn, and probably you'd think boxing is the last sort of sport to be associated with such a lovely area, really. But yeah, that's the way it all sort of developed. As an amateur, obviously boxed in Telford and Shrewsbury, a town just up the road. That was my last club actually, Shrewsbury.
My opponent who I beat for the English there, Roddy Duran.
Roddy Duran, yeah, I know Roddy really well.
It's a nice town that as well.
Lovely town.
He had a war with him.
No, I did.
Roddy's a good lad. I know Roddy really well.
Really good lad.
He's still a Shrewsbury lad. I live in Telford. So Telford and Shrewsbury is about 10 mile apart. But yeah, he's a good lad, Roddy. Still knocking about.
I think he lives there as well. Alex Mason lives
Alex Mason.
Alex Mason, Alex Mason.
Alex Mason.
And the other one.
Is he a middleweight, Alex Mason?
He won the
Who talks
middle
funny?
that's Alex Mason.
No, not Alex Mason, his friend who talks funny.
I don't know.
He came off the group anyway, don't mind.
I don't know.
Shrewsbury's a lovely town, very medieval town, Shrewsbury.
We went on a night out, right, so let me tell you the story.
In Shrewsbury?
Yeah, this is the story. This is a funny story, right? So in the middle of the pandemic, let us go out a little bit. So someone comes with a smart idea of we should all meet up because we were all talking in the WhatsApp group through the pandemic.
Boxing group,
So there ends up being, about 30 of us?
30 of us went. I'll show you the pictures.
Everyone out. Wow. Listen, the doorman started on Alex Mason, didn't they?
No, it wasn't Alex Mason. How was it?
No, it was Martin Jolly.
Martin Jolly, that's the one.
Martin Jolly.
He started at Martin Jolly, not realising that.
They thought he was drunk, but he was all right.
He probably was drunk.
No, but the way he spoke.
Yeah, because he probably was drunk, because that night he was supposed to be staying with Alex Mason's house. And Alex Mason lost and he fell asleep in someone's garden, so he was drunk. They didn't know where he was, we were trying to look for him. But when the doorman started on Martin Jolly, they didn't realise there were 30 of us, so it got a bit tasty quick. Some people obviously piped up real quick, right?
There's all sorts of doorman
across the road,
doesn't walk across the road.
Yeah, doorman were back tracking, doorman were coming out of the
lads.
I'm there like, come on guys.
Come in lads, all right.
It wouldn't have been good for them, would it?
No. Because there was a lot of champions in there.
Was it? Oh, yeah, it wouldn't have been good for him.
Yeah, there were a lot of champions, and Shrewsbury would have known about it. They've been in the Shrewsbury paper, wouldn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Shrewsbury's a nice town.
It is nice.
I liked it.
I used to sell a lot of tickets in Shrewsbury. I'm from Telford, and there's always a big rivalry between Telford and Shrewsbury. But because Shropshire, it's in the county of Shropshire, the two towns, main towns, the big towns are Telford and Shrewsbury. So there's a lot of rivalry there. But I used to sell a lot of tickets because my last club was the Shrewsbury Salop Golden Gloves in Shrewsbury. Then I used to have a lot of fans there.
Wow.
Good lads, the sound. Yeah, good lads.
Well, I wanted to say to you, because I've heard nothing but good things from a lot of people over the years from you. Yeah. And I just want to say thank you for doing what you do, because I feel sports in general is losing teaching.
Yeah.
Like their answer to losing a fight is train harder, where that's not always the answer. Sometimes the answer is actually watching the tape and studying what to do. So Jack Bateson always talks highly of you. Fraser Clark,
good lad.
Lewis Williams. It's never ending. Tell us what you feel about where the teaching mountain of boxing is going.
Well, I think they probably spoke. It's nice that they spoke highly of me. I've had a lot to do with them boxers, obviously, in their GB cycle.
Yeah.
I always think that boxing it's as much about defence as it is about attack. And with all those boxers that you've mentioned, I used to work a lot of defensive work with them because the art of boxing is to hit the opponent and not get hit yourself. So that's what we try and teach here at GB. It's all right hitting the opponent, but you've got to concentrate on your defence as well. And I think with all those fighters you mentioned, I used to work on a lot of different things with them to hit and to move and to hit the opponent and not get hit. And to try, from my own experience, that's what boxing's about. And I was quite successful at it myself because I wasn't the most powerful of boxers, but I had height, I had reach. And my dad, who coached me, he said, Rich, you've got to maximise what you've got. So this is what you've got to do. You've got to train hard, you've got to have a good engine because you're not going to knock guys out left, right and centre. You'll win most of your fights on points, my old man used to say. So you've got to train for the 12 rounds. If it comes early, it's a bonus. You've got to hit and you've got to move. So my dad used to teach me more about defence than he did attack. He said the attacking part of boxing is a natural thing for most fighters anyway, but the defensive part isn't. So you've got to really concentrate on your defence, and I think I used to get that over to all those boxers. That the game's about defending as much as it is about attacking. And for me, I think that's probably why I'm part of GB with Rob McCracken, who's a great boss, Rob is, but you can probably see that one of my strengths is I work well with the boxers and I can get my message across about the defensive stuff as much as the attacking.
Respect as well, isn't it?
And having that respect. And I really think that if you've had success in boxing, no matter who you are, it's your duty to put back. It's your duty to go into amateur clubs and because you got to remember when you was amateur, when I walked through the door for the first time and the experience that I had, and they were good experiences, and I wanted to go back to that boxing club. And you've got to get that message. That message, man, across to young kids that they want to come back into our sport. If you do that, then you're doing your duty as an ex-fighter, no matter who you are, and especially if you've had success and you've been a world champion, or you're even a Brit. Doesn't matter what success you've had. If you've been successful as a boxer, you've got to put back. You've got to put back and get kids, girls and boys now, obviously, boys and girls, into our sport, because it's a great sport. But if you have had success in boxing and you don't put back, then shame on you.
You're not sharing that talent.
Because it's a message, and every boxer's got a different story, haven't they, to tell? Especially if you've had success in boxing, and that success could be. One time you were tempted to go on drugs, or you might have been on drugs, but that success is that, I went to a boxing club and I'm off them drugs now, and I'm actually training, and I go 3 times a week, and I'm talking to people, and I'm back in work now. That might be success for you. That might be your story of success. Well, then that's your duty then to go and tell that to some other kid who might be tempted to be on drugs. If you get that story across, then that's what we've all got to do as ex-fighters.
Definitely.
Because we want the sport to grow and grow, but the only way it will grow is if you get people like us going out preaching that. Do you know what I mean? If we do that, then the goals are endless for kids. And those kids, like I was a kid of 7 years of age, walking into a gym for the first time. I went to the Olympic Games, I became a world champion, and I'm now a GB coach. But once upon a time, I was a kid walking into a gym, and the experience that I had, then I wanted to go back to it, and it just snowballed and grew. Well, that snowball effect, it's your duty to instill that into some kid that's walking through the door.
I love it.
You know what I mean? I think, and like I say, you measure success on whatever. For us, it's obviously winning titles, but success can come on all different ways. And I have spoken to kids who were on drugs and who are now boxing. They're having their first fight. They're in work now. They're off them drugs, and success and boxing has become a home and a family, and that's what it's all about.
And the buzz is better than drugs as well.
Oh, absolutely.
That's why Brendan Ingle was special, right?
Absolutely.
I'm telling you now, right? Now I look back on things now. On a Saturday morning, you used to have disabled kids, you used to have old people just coming in. And you'd have Naz over there, you'd have Johnny Naz over there, and he would spend as much time with the person who's never going to pay the bills, who's never going to be a champion than he did. I'm telling you, there's more success stories that come out of that gym than the champions that you see. And for me, the greatest fight that ever came out of Ingle's gym is Johnny Nelson, 100%. Because I got the opportunity,
Didn't give up.
hands-on, to see Johnny through his career before what he is. And when
he didn't have success early on in his
didn't.
career.
He lost his first 3 fights.
He persevered and become that champion he was. So yeah, I agree. You see, people like Brendan Ingle. My dad is another example. My dad, he died in 2015. My dad, he passed away of cancer. But yeah, thank you. But he was a great man. My dad was, and you know what? It was the measure of him. How many people was at his funeral, my dad's funeral? There was hundreds and hundreds of ex-fighters that he's taken, like your Brendan Ingles of this world. Because at the end of the day, they were unpaid social workers back in the 70s.
Yeah, 100%.
They used to take kids off the streets. My dad trained hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids and steered them into a life of boxing and positive things that were happening. You know what I mean? And that's why there were so many people at my dad's funeral. And they were unpaid social workers. They didn't get paid for it. They did it because they loved it. And they loved to get kids off the street, get them into boxing, go out to tournaments, win this, win that. And they changed people's lives.
The better social workers.
You know what
I
I mean?
had 2 amazing trainers in Howard Rainey and Brendan Ingle. All right. I saw Brendan make it and get rich, and this and the other. And I saw Howard. I was at the funeral. I sat next to Steve Bunce at the funeral. Remember the funeral, Howard Rainey? Massive turnout for Howard Rainey. Sat next to Steve Bunce. Did he give me a cold though?
Did he?
I got sick of that. I'm sure he gave me COVID.
Did he?
Yeah, he was sneezing at the funeral. I was sick for 2 weeks.
I'll tell him next week.
But like Howard never went on holiday. In there, Howard's a character, right? I'm going to say this. Howard's the best trainer I've ever had.
Oh, fair play.
By far. Not even close. Better than Brendan. For what he knew in his time. But what let Howard down was his lifestyle. You'd be in there trying to make weight and he's eating a custard cream tin. He won't want to. He's smoking in front of you and I'm like, Howard, I'm dying here. You're smoking in front of you. You know what I mean? So his lifestyle let him down. But he just loved being around new people. You know, people coming in and talking to them and passing on knowledge. And I always look at Mike Tyson and I think, if Mike Tyson does not train someone before he passes on, Customarta's legacy dies. Legacy
That's a good point.
must be passed on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because obviously Customarta had such an influence on Mike Tyson. When you hear Mike Tyson talk about Customarta, the passion, man, in his voice, and what that man meant to him.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, he gets really emotional. So yes, and it's up to Mike then to pass that on to the next young Mike Tyson.
Generation.
That's the way I look at it, anyway. And like I say, the Brendan Ingles of this world, you know, me dad, who trained so many boxers, they changed the lives of so many people and saved the lives of so many people that could have gone into drugs, could have gone to this. But they turned them into decent human beings that have boxed and have come through that family of boxing. There's so many of those type of stories, but that's what I love about the game.
There's a saying that I like, I don't know where I get it from. I'm going to claim it unless you can tell me who said it. But when people say boxing's dangerous, I like to say boxing has saved far more people than it will ever take.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? Far more people than ever take.
I haven't heard that. Well done.
You know what I mean? Because of what we go through, and the people at home are just armchair fans. They're only just going to say, "Oh, well, someone died," but you don't understand how many people it's saved from a life of crime, a life of drugs.
There should be an amateur boxing club on every council estate in the country.
Should be. They're shutting some down, but some.
It should be every council estate in the country. There should be an amateur boxing club, state run. Pay a coach to do it and a couple of coaches instead of people like my dad, like the Brendan Ingles that did it all for nothing through passion. And it could be done. It could be funded by the state. A boxing club, because when you put a boxing club on a council estate, the crime reduces unbelievable. And I know that for a fact.
Crime would just disappear.
Because I speak to police all the time, because I'm a president of a club in Telford in Shropshire called Wellington Boxing Academy. We've got 100 kids. We have 100 kids and nearly a night come through our doors, and the police come and see us all the time. And they go, "Oh, this club is fantastic. Crime's dipped in the area," but that's not that is all over the country. If you look at all boxing clubs, all over the country, amateur boxing clubs, the crime in that area dips. It's unbelievable. You put a club in the council estate, the crime goes down. So what it should happen is every council estate all over the country, there should be an amateur boxing club, and it should be state run, and you watch the crime go down. But you try and get a few quid off a councillor. It's unbelievable. But they have to foot a bill at the end of the year through crime and damage, vandalism. Just put it into a boxing club and fund a couple of coaches.
You know, boxing used to be at school. My granddad always told me about boxing at school.
I started at school, and then Mr. Allen, if you know him, from Bradford Police.
Yeah, I know Mr. Allen,
Best his soul. That was my first coach. He invited me down to Police Boys, and I got beaten up by Junior Witter. He put me with Junior first.
Everyone's been beaten up by Junior in Spain.
I had never boxed in my life, but you know what it is? He taught us a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
With life and everything. He was like Brendan Ingle, just the same you know what I mean? Same as Brendan Ingle.
Should be all over the country.
Yeah, definitely.
And,
it was in the housing estate as well, in Bradford, in the heart.
You know, and I say to people that, you know what, the club that I'm at, there's people at that club that will never box, but they go because it's somewhere that they want to socialise. It's a social thing. They never miss a session. They're fit. They're healthy. We educate them in what they should be eating, and their whole life improves.
They're mentally healthy as well.
Mental health. It's unbelievable. We even have a session now in our club for people with Parkinson's, because people with Parkinson's, they reckon the messages aren't getting through to their hands and their feet working together. But when they're boxing,
cognitively,
when you're actually boxing, I take someone who's got Parkinson's, and he's improved so much because I'm getting him to move. He's moving with his hands, with his feet, his coordination. He's having to think about landing a hook. He's having to think about landing an uppercut rather than a straight shot. And he's thinking all the time. And I say, no, keep your shape, keep that front foot pointing towards me all the. And he's having to think. And it's helping him. So, you know, and that's all from that club. So it's got so many good things about it, an amateur boxing club. But you go to the council and you try and get anything. Mate, it does my head in. Because, like I said, it should be state funded. The good that it does in society, mate, it's endless what it does for communities. Amateur boxing, endless.
I think it should bring back into schools again.
Absolutely.
You're passionate about the whole game, amateur pro.
Yeah, I'm really passionate because you got to remember. If you have a tree that's going to blossom and bear fruit, the roots have got to be strong. Amateur boxing are the roots of the tree.
Do you know that quote's in the Bible?
Is it really? I don't know that.
That's a Bible quote,
It's the roots of the tree, mate. Amateur boxing is the roots of the tree. Right, and the professional game, then eventually when they go pro, they blossom and the fruit there's the fruit. That's the way I look at it.
Foundation.
So the foundation has got to be strong. If our amateur game is strong, we're going to have good professional.
Definitely.
You know, and I love professional boxing, of course I do, but we need the amateur boxing to be strong.
Do you recognise his voice from all the boxing matches we watch? Because I make a watch
that's him, gets them. That's that dodgy scorer. I don't get it right sometimes. It's the way it goes.
Listen, I realise you've got things to do. We could talk to you all day, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
This won't be the last time we speak, but before we finish, we're going to play a game. All right. So the winner stays in. All right. Yeah. So we're going to do super middleweights, right?
Yeah.
Nigel Benn v Jermaine Taylor.
Say again?
Nigel Benn v Jermaine Taylor.
Who stays in?
Who stays in?
No, Nigel Benn beats Jermaine Taylor.
No, so you got to choose. So Nigel Benn v Jermaine Taylor. Who stays in?
Nigel Benn all day long.
Okay, so he's still in. Nigel Benn v Andre Ward.
Oh my God!
I told you it was going to happen.
At the peak, both peaks. Yeah.
I think
I'd have to go Andre Ward.
Yeah.
I'd have to. Yeah.
So you're going to like this one, Richie. Andre Ward v James Toney.
My man Tony.
Yeah, Tony. Hey. So the next one, I know what you're going to choose. James Toney v Steve Collins.
Oh.
I don't know.
The peak.
I'd probably just edge Tony, but Collins was a mate.
Tough.
Oh, he was a good fighter, Collins. But but you see, James Tony,
defense-wise,
super middleweight, and Tony edges that.
Yeah. James Tony beat Chris Eubanks Senior.
When he's starting out.
Senior was tough.
Yeah, he was tough, but he was getting hit regular.
I'd probably just go Tony, and I'll tell you for why. I think he'd outwork Eubanks. I think Chris probably occasionally was a little bit too. He was great showboating, but he did it for a reason because he slowed things down. And I'd probably go Tony on work rate.
Okay, James Tony v Canelo.
Tony.
I like that. You see, he's old school. I'd do the same thing. James Tony v Carl Froch.
Oh,
now.
Because Fraser Clark was telling us how tough Carl Froch is, by the way.
That's super middle. Peak. No, you know what? I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to go Carl Froch.
Carl Froch?
Yeah, okay.
So, Carl Froch v Calzaghe.
Oh, I've been asked this many times.
I know, we all want to see this fight, do we? We did want to see it.
I'm level, I can't answer that.
Similar
You got it.
Similar style as well, isn't it? Similar.
You've got to get to the end. You've got to choose one.
That is the end. I'm not saying.
There's one fighter left after.
Well, who's the fighter after that?
There's one super middleweight I haven't mentioned. Who is it going to be? He knows who it is straight away. You mentioned him at the start.
But you can ask the audience to help you out if you want.
Mate.
Ask the audience.
Well, I'm not going to answer Calzaghe Froch because I don't know that one.
All right, Calzaghe Froch, either one of them against Roy Jones Jr.
I'd have to say peak. I'd have to say Roy Jones.
There we go.
I'd have to.
Right.
There we go. It was.
But I can't answer Froch versus Calzaghe.
John.
Because for me, they're two great fighters. They're two good friends.
Similar
and I wouldn't like to.
They're similar.
You know what I mean?
Similar style.
I'm not going to answer it, but
That's very diplomatic, by the way. Very diplomatic.
but I'd probably at the end of it, top of the tray out of raw peak would probably be Roy Jones.
You can't argue against that. Can't argue against that. So we're going to leave it there.
Yeah.
We're going to see him next week.
Definitely.
Because we're going to be at a boxing show.
Yay.
Don't forget to like, share, and comment.
Subscribe and tell a friend to tell a friend.
If you don't hit that subscription button, you won't be getting notified.
That's right.
We're here.
And we out.
13th and the final round. Hit them up, man.
That's it.